Hey guys, it's Jack from U.S.A. Bass Anglers here, and since it's winter here in Michigan, I figure I can't really do any more fishing anymore unless, I want to do some ice fishing, and even then, that ain't the same as regular fishing. So, unless I can get some footage from the other guys, I can't do much other than tackle reviews and, top 5s, top 10s, stuff like that. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. I figured, well, why not do all my crankbaits, show you guys all my crankbaits. But then I said, well, that's a little too much. I got a lot of stuff here. So I figured if someone came up to me today and said, hey, we're going fishing, and we can be going anywhere in this country, any depth of water, from 20 feet to a foot of water, you could take 10 crankbaits. That's it. No more, no less. What are you going to take with you? And I figured, well, I would take these ones, and we'll start from top, very shallow, to way down deep, and we'll go from there. So the first one I got is a Rolls Custom Man's Baby -1 body in a bluegill color. Won that out of a giveaway. I mean, it's been a nice shallow running crankbait for me. It's just like the Man's Baby -1. I'm pretty sure it's the same body, but I mean, if you really crank it, you can get it to go down to 1 foot at max, maybe a little more. Not much. You ain't gonna get it to hit 2 feet, but definitely has been a solid producer for me this year, especially when the fish are real shallow and it was really at the later end of the season. I figured this is a good lure to have with you. So next, I got a Rapala here. I don't know what model this is, but it's in a shag color there. And more towards the end of this season, I realized that the fish are really feeding on the shad. Every once in a while, if the water level is here, you'd see all these bait fish go like that. They'd scatter. They were running from something. So one day I picked this lure up because I knew that they were shad, and I knew they were about that color. And I flicked this out there to this back corner, and I started reeling it back, and I seen this big dark shape. I knew it was a smallie, and he comes running back like that. I seen him coming through the water, and I'm telling you, there's nothing better than seeing a fish crush your lure in feet of water. 2 to 3 feet of water, and he just came back and he crushed it. There's nothing better than seeing that. So that's definitely up there for me. Next, I got a Norman. Also don't know the model of this, but it used to be orange up top there and silver on the bottom there, but that started chipping away after a while. So I said, well, screw it, I'll just take all of it off and do my own thing. So I put some black stripes on there, put the eyes on there myself, and put super glue over it so they ain't going nowhere. But that one, ever since I really started fishing, I picked one of these up one day and I really liked it, and it's always been a producer for me. So that's always, one of the things that you gotta have it with you. Next, I got a Bomber Square A. You can tell it's got that kind of coffin bill shape to it there. But here's why I'd pick this one. It's because I figured, well, if I come to a situation where there's a lot of rocks in the water, or just a lot of cover in general, and I want to be able to throw a crankbait in there and bring it back, this is what I'm going to take. The reason for that being is the lake we got around here, Ford Lake in Ypsilanti, Michigan, it's got a lot of hang-ups to it. And I mean, you don't want to throw too many of your crankbaits because you're going to lose quite a few of them. At least I don't want to lose any of mine, but that right there, if I had to take a crankbait out there and chuck it all day long, this is going to be it. Because I have taken it over some of the rock hang-ups there and just burned it. Not far offshore, only I could have easily taken my shoes off, rolled my pant legs up, and grabbed my crankbait back if I had to. But that, every time that I burned it over them rocks, I could not get it to hang up at all. So definitely earned a place in my book. Next, I got a custom crankbait from FTR Lures. You see the stamping right there on the bottom. But these are made from a guy named Keith Rose. You can find his page on Facebook. That's FTR Lures. And basically, he told me I can get 3 lures from him because I work on his pro staff team. And he said, I'll give you 2 crankbaits, I'll give you 1 popper. And I said, alright, well, let's see what you can do with the bluegill color. And this is what he came out with. And I'm telling you, I have never been more impressed with a crankbait ever since I've seen that. Let me just look at that. It's got a little bit of green up in there. Turns to a little bit of purple. You got all your colors you could want in there. That crankbait has done so well for me continuously that I always come back to it. Next, I got another Rapala. This is a DT4 in a red craw color. You can see I've replaced the front hook there with the red hook. And basically this one's just, it's done so well for me. The last few weeks before the ice actually hit, I was throwing this and I pulled a few bass, you know. That time I was really struggling. Everything I threw I couldn't get a bite. But I mean, that I threw that the last day I went and I nailed them. And there's no better feeling than when you've been struggling for so long, you finally hook into something, you know. Next I got a lipless Rapala. It's all in gold there. And for whatever reason, these colors just do real good for me, so I can't complain. It's just, I've used it before, and that's why I really found my love for the lipless crankbaits is, you know, like, wow, this thing actually, you know, it's catching me some fish here. So I couldn't complain there. Now, the next one is Storm Arashi Square Bill. It's got that circuit board that they just came out with. And the self-tuning lip. Self-tuning lip's really cool. I don't know if you can see that there, but yeah, right there. So that's when, you know, you get your crankbaits that'll run to your right, that'll run to your left, you know, and you gotta take a pair of pliers, and the only way to fix them is grab that lip there and crank it back, and you gotta adjust it yourself. And you know, it can come undone again, and you gotta fix it again, you gotta fix it again, you know. Odds are that's not gonna happen with, you know, having to redo it all the time, but I've had it happen a few times, so I mean, no better way than to have a self-tuning lip. And that's supposed to be another one of those 4-wheel drive crankbaits. I really haven't put that to the test, but I mean, it's got some monster hooks on there. And this thing just looks like, yeah, that looks like a dinner bell to me. Alright. And we're going down to mid-depth now. We got a jointed Rapala there in a shag color. You know, me and a buddy of mine were out at a lake once, and we weren't getting very much. I finally picked one of these up, and I threw it out there. And right like that, it's one after the other. I started to pick them off. Alright, now that's 9 of them there. So before I actually, you know, do my last one here, I figured, well, I got a few ones that, you know, someone just said, hey, you could take 4 more. What would they be? Well, we'll start from shallow to deep again. Another jointed Rapala. It's a very small one. I mean, that's no bigger than one of my fingers here. It's about as big as my pinky finger there. You can see that ain't nothing, you know. Put that right up next to it so you can see there. But that ain't nothing. But I mean, I think that's what makes it such an effective crankbait there, is just the fact that, you know, it's a real small crankbait and I can get it into places, you know, that could be heavily pressured and produce still. So next I got another square bill crankbait from U.S.A. You can see it's in that sexy shag color, and I took a spike it marker and marked the belly up there a little and put a red hook on it. Excuse me. But yeah, that one's done pretty well for me. I remember earlier in the spring I was throwing it out there and it was coming through the water like that, you know, just doing its thing, going back and forth. And I seen a big bass come up on the right side of it and just keep trailing off, and it didn't pay no mind to it. But the smaller one that was with it come up and grabbed it right there at the end of it, and that's when I just sat back and let them have it. That's another good time, is when you see them fish bite it. But another one I got is another Rolls custom lure. That's in another bluegill color, and it's a larger crankbait. But that's why I chose it, really. I mean, because if you think about it, you get those times where the bass are feeding on larger game fish, you know. and they're really on them, you know. So why not have something that's a little bit bigger of a profile? And last on my honorable mentions here is another jointed Rapala. That was another one I pulled out that same day that, you know, it was one after the other after I put that lipless, you know, that jointed crankbait on. Right here. Right after I put that one on, I gave that one a go. And it was the same thing right after the other. I don't know what it was, but they started hammering it right after that. Excuse me. But last one here is, I don't know what brand this is. It was given to me. But if I had to pick one deep diver to go down deep with, it'd be that right there. It's because I really like that color tone. It's got a nice kind of subtle color to the top of it there. And it turns to a bit of a blue on the side. And you can see the rattles in there. One there, one there. There's some back in there. But I mean, it looks like it'd be a solid crankbait in deep water. I really can't say on the deep divers, because everywhere I fish, I don't fish the deep waters too much, you know. I stay away from that. I stay where I'm strong. I stay in the shallows. But I mean, if I had to take one thing and go out in the deep water, that's what I'd be taking. But that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, check out our Facebook page. It's the same name as this YouTube account, is U.S.A. Bass Anglers. Check us out and give us a like if you would. We really appreciate you watching this, and that's about it. Thanks.